I'm going to make it kind of short, kind of sweet. This is Mr. Kurt McAfee. He is our athletic director, our interim athletic director. Has returned. But I'm going to let him tell you about himself, about the job, about anything, and then at the end, we'll have a short question, answer kind of
And
thing.
this is officiating class?
No, this one's sports administration.
Okay,
So
good.
I'm dealing
All right.
with the athletic director and everything that kind of deals with that.
Okay.
All right?
All right,
If you
well.
would, please give a hand to Mr. McAfee.
Thank you. Just give you a little bit about my background. I was the athletic director here from 2005 to 2017. I left and went to a private high school in Wichita, Kansas. I was there 8 years as the athletic director. And just recently retired from Wichita Collegiate, which is a private school on the east side of Wichita, as the athletic director. So I was sitting by the pool one day after being retired, sitting by the pool when Dr. Calvin called me, and I was drinking an adult beverage and relaxing and kind of working on my tan when he asked me to come back as the interim. So I'm gonna come back until they hire somebody. So in the last 20 years, that's what I've been doing. I've been an athletic director. Before that, I was the vice president of Wichita Sports Commission, which is a group that brings sporting events into town. We were one of the driving forces behind the arena. The new arena is in Wichita now, so that's kind of been my background. I graduated from, I went to school here, I played baseball here, actually I sat on the bench here. Played here 2 years, went to K-State, walked on, didn't get to play in one swing at all in the fall ball. So if you know anything about baseball and you play fall ball, and at the time, K-State was in the Big 8 and they were the worst team in the conference. And if you don't get to play in fall and you're on the worst team in the Big 8, you're probably not gonna ever get to play. So I finished on my degree at K-State, got my undergraduate degree at Wichita State in political science, and then I got my master's in sports administration at Wichita State. And I have about 12 hours towards my doctorate when I decided that I was too old to get a doctorate because it's too much writing that wasn't making me a better person. So anyway, that's my background. So the first time I was here, I used to teach a class much like what Mr. Jackson teaches. It was a sports administration class. It was an intro class. So I taught a few classes at Wichita State in the same thing. I do. A lot of people ask me what I do. Well, I pay a lot of bills. I pay everybody's bills. I do everybody's scholarship. I do eligibility. When I walk in the door, everybody here that's on scholarship, I've done your eligibility. So I've got an LOI. You got basically a contract with your coach that says they're going to give you X amount of money, whether that be books and tuition, or whether that be even more than that kind of thing. My first time I was here at Pratt, I was Region 6 director, men's director, I was a women's director, and then I was a men's director. And basically, I was part of the committee of the people that at one time when you went to school in a Jayhawk Community College school, the only thing we could give you is books and tuition. That was to everybody. It was mandated by the league that you could only give books and tuition as a scholarship. Even though we were competing at Division I schools can give anything up to a full ride scholarship. So it was tough for us because we were competing at D1, but really we were given a scholarship that was equivalent to the Division II. The league decided that some schools in the league decided that they go, you can't tell us what we can give our kids in scholarship money. So there was a big rift. It kind of, some schools had even talked about leaving the league, leaving the conference. So some of the other schools caved, and so now we can give you anything on scholarship-wise up into a full ride. So it's proponent on each school to be able to do whatever they want to do, but some of the schools like Barton and Hutch and Butler said, you can't tell us what we can give. So that's why we had a split, and that's why we now have the ability to give more money than we have in the past. My job really consists of this. When as eligibility, I have to, before any of your teams compete, I have to fill out a roster. And that roster is all you people that are on on scholarship that are playing basketball or softball, volleyball, whatever may be the sport. But it has to be on file with the national office. If it doesn't get done, the first time it doesn't get done, so like say you played tonight, we haven't done it yet, and you guys played and you haven't done it, it's a $500 fine. It will automatically gonna start getting audited by the NJCAA. But that means that every time that we submit anything to the NJCAA, they're gonna audit it. They're gonna go in there, they're gonna look at it, make sure that you're taking 18 hours, or you're taking 16 hours in class, that you are passing, that you are, that you did graduate. You know, all these things are gonna go back and they start looking at. So we wanna make sure that we take care of eligibility, is very important. The only eligibility problem we've ever had when I was AD here was we had a student that was taking a late start class, and he was running the indoor track, and the late start class didn't start until after the indoor season was over, so he wasn't really in 12 hours. So we got sanctioned, had to write a letter to the track meet people, all the people that run the track meet, and say, hey, listen, we ran a kid that was ineligible, he was got third place, we had to forfeit that, and so everybody moved up one spot. So eligibility is really, really important. You know, it's there's nothing more important to us than making sure that eligibility is done and done correctly. We don't want to win a national championship and then find out we have to vacate it because we had someone that was ineligible. So, you know, I have to go back and look at, make sure that you're in X amount of hours, that you are passing classes, that if you didn't pass 12 core hours this semester before, then you'll be, you know what, you're on what we call probation, and it's imperative that you'll have to pass 16 hours the next semester. So those are all things I have to look at on a daily basis and make sure that it's done. You know, the other part of my job is figuring out how to pay all the things that we have. My budget total is well in excess of $250,000, and that's you know, it's not including salaries for coaches. So I have to figure out how to divvy up that money. You know what? Volleyball goes and plays. We're going to go to Glen next week, and they're going to be down there for 2 or 3 days, and they're going to stay in a hotel. I guess they're going to stay in an Airbnb. Yeah, you guys are big time. So, you know, I got to figure out at the start of the season how much money that I give to volleyball, how much money I get to allocate to basketball, and so on and so forth. It's a really big thing for me is that many years ago, when I went to school here, it was before we had Title IX. I don't know if anybody are really familiar with Title IX, but Title IX basically said you have to give the same opportunities for women as you do for men in sports. When I went to school here, there was nothing for the basketball coaches, the men's basketball coaches, to tell the women's basketball coach, okay, you guys are off, get off the court, we're taking it now. So they drove in, they rode in some very nice vans, and the women's basketball team rode in an old station wagon that had a panel on it. Have you ever seen, I can't remember what the show was now, but it's anyway, women were mistreated as far as when, back in the day, 1976, when I was going to school, 67. And so Congress passed legislation that says, you are going to now make sure that women have the same opportunities that men do. So when we start looking at everything, whether that be facilities, uniforms, amount of money that we allocate to a sport, we have to make sure that we are doing the same thing for the men as we do for the women, and it's vice versa. So Title IX has become something that has been a thing that has impacted on lots of athletic departments. When Title IX first came about, all of a sudden, you know what, we had a football school that had a football program that had 85 kids on scholarship. You had to have an equal number of opportunities for women. So all of a sudden, you know what, we started dropping wrestling and swimming and tennis and all these other that we called that were sports that didn't make money. Nobody really makes money, but you know, they were sports that we weren't charging for, you know, for a competition, for the to go watch kind of a thing. We were charging admission type thing. So a lot of men's sports that were secondary sports, for lack of better words, like wrestling and tennis and those kind of things, all of a sudden they started getting dropped because we had to start making an equal number of opportunities for men and women. So you saw a lot of programs that big time programs that started dropping all kinds of sports, just to try to accommodate. So, now you can kind of see that there's more of a balance now. You're starting to see more, women's sports that's starting to be at our level. When I came in here in 2005, we didn't have women's soccer, we didn't have wrestling, we didn't have men's soccer. So we started those sports because we had already had a nice balance between men and women's sports and opportunities. So those are another things that, that a big part of what I do is trying to figure out how to balance the budget, how to make sure that you guys get all the things that you need and the teams that you need and the opportunities to go places to play and figure out how to pay for them. Where does my budget come from? My budget mostly comes from student fees and money that I go out and raise. In my last year here, we raised over $150,000 that we used for, really we put in my auxiliary account so that when you guys ran over, when your sport ran over their budget, then I would make up the difference out of my auxiliary. But raising money is a big thing, it's something that kind of keeps me busy all the time. Every one of those banners you see in the gym, they are revenue that we generate for our teams. Fees don't nearly cover all the money that we need for our budget, so we have to go out and fundraise. We have a couple of donors that are big donors that give us money that on a daily basis. You'll see the Bill Keller Sports Complex, Keller family, which is Stanion, which is a homegrown business here. Brad has been here for many years. They've been a huge sponsor of us. If you see the Keller name or the Stanion name, they are the ones that have given us most of the money that we have as of right now. We built a new softball hitting complex over here in 2006 or 2007, and that was all donated by Stanions. So, those are other things that are going out and raising money. The other thing that is one of the main things that I do is that I have to be out in this community. This community, most of you probably don't know, but the people that live in this community, they pay in property tax to support this school. So you'll see a lot of people in Pratt County that are upset with this school because we are a taxing entity. That means that we raise the mill levy, we can raise or lower the mill levy to tax the people's property here, their house, their cars, those things. Because when the JUCO system was set up many years ago, there wasn't a way to support those schools. They were all kind of said, okay, we're gonna set up a school in Pratt County and one in Butler County and one in KCK and so on and so forth. But there was the legislature did not set up a funding mechanism for that. So what happened was that they said, okay, in Pratt County, as a school, now you can tax the community, which is what the mill levy is what it's called. And so when they do that, basically each year we get X amount of money from this community. So this community has invested a lot of money in this school, so we have to make sure that I'm a good steward with the money that they give us, but also that we're out in the community, we are performing community service. We are, as teams, we go out and do different things. We mow ladies' lawns if we can't do it. We put together kids' furniture that the grandmother doesn't know how to do. We help move people. We do all kinds of different things in the community, in this community service. And I don't know what it is lately, but I know last year I was here, it was 5,000 or 6,000 hours of community service that we did. So again, that's one of those things that I oversee type of thing. Getting officials, I'm the one who's, when they come and do your game, the ref your football game, your soccer matches, your volleyball matches, your basketball games. I am working with the supervisor officials, and we work through that and get officials assigned so that you have people that will officiate your games. Another part that I don't cherish or like doing is, but I have to do discipline quite often. just today, I had to dismiss one of our participants from a sport. Wasn't thinking easy, but you know what? Wasn't doing the thing that they needed to do. So that's another part of my job. I sit on the cabinet with Dr. Calvert and the other vice presidents, which is Dr. King and Monette Dupuy and Jerry Sanko and myself and Linda Austin. We're on cabinet. We meet once a week in cabinet. We decide policy, you know, so I'm involved in those kinds of discussions. I don't know, I've kind of rambled a little bit here. Any questions, anything that I've said that kind of prodded a thought that you thought I want to ask about? Please stop me at any time. You know, it's not easy doing what I do because I have to make decisions sometimes that it's very hard. I mean, I got, you know, coach will call me and say, hey, can I go to Florida? I want to go to this thing down there, and it's a recruiting trip, and you know, it's a chance for me for professional development, and I got to weigh that, whether that's, you know, that's a good thing. Is that worth the money that we're going to spend? You know, what kind of message does that send to the other coaches? You can't believe that when we go, okay, I'm sending such and such down to this, well, I want to go to this thing too, you know, and so coaches are always looking at how we're giving up the money and how we're treating each other and how I treat each coach, and so it's always one of those things where you're dealing with lots of different personalities, and some coaches are really easy to deal with, you know, and some coaches are very demanding some are difficult, some are really easy to manage. That's another thing that I have to deal with, is that just have people skills. So people ask me, you know, how do I get in this business? Well, you know, it used to be if you were a coach and you retired coaching, you went into being an athletic director. But now so much of it is so much is driven by money and budgets and how you're gonna get that money and how you raise it. So anymore, you know, people ask me, if I had to do it over again and I started my career, I would go, my undergraduate degree would be in business or in accounting, because that is so much of what I have to do anymore, is all on the business side of it. The guy that I worked with, that I went and got my master's with, he's an accountant for the Milwaukee Bucks. His undergraduate degree was in accounting. Now he got his master's in sports administration, and he works with the Milwaukee Bucks, and he works in the accounting department. But so much more of it in this position now is involved is the financial aspect of it. There's not a day that goes by that I don't have to deal with, you know, how am I going to pay for this, or how do I budget for next year? It's where can I make adjustments at? You know, as I go through the course of a year, I'm trying to get down to where I get at the very last day. When you guys take your last final, when you leave, I'm at 0. I don't want to be negative. So sometimes I have to tell coaches or teams that, no, you can't do that. And it's not because I like that, I don't want to do that, but you know what, finances dictate a lot of what we do. I don't know, what else do you want to talk about? Kind of rambling. Questions? Yes, sir?
So, going back a little bit, how do you encourage like community support? You said about community service. Is there any other ways that you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I appreciate you asking that. When I first came back this time, and it's just easy for me because I grew up here. I went to school here. I have 2 sisters that live here. But when I see people, then I went to the Pratt High School volleyball match, and my wife goes, "Why did you do that?" And I go, "Well, they have to be seen in the community. I have to be a part of this community. I have to be out there involved in it. I have to volunteer and do some of the things, because they're looking at us at this school and they're going, man, you don't really realize it, but there's people out there that are so pissed off at this school because it's impacting their lives. Their taxes are way higher than anybody else. I have a brother-in-law who farms. He has land in Pratt, he has land in Kiowa County. The land taxes that he pays in Kiowa County is so much different than it is here, because Kiowa doesn't have a community college. It's not taxing them. So one of the few things that I can do to help alleviate that is be out in the community, be involved, you know. I eat at different restaurants just to make sure that people see me, again, because I grew up in this community, I know lots and lots of people, but they're always looking at me, you know. The other night, we had our budget meeting and our board meeting, and so it was an opportunity for the public to come out and be a part of what we were doing when we finished our budget for the next year. So we had several people that came out there that were voiced their concern about how high their taxes were because of us. And we're not the only one that's as a taxing entity. Pratt High taxes, the city taxes, the county taxes, we tax. And so everybody's being looked at by the community going, my taxes are too high. What can you do? We want you to lower your meal levy. And we did that this year. We did it because we understand that we have to be good stewards in this community. And it's, you know, I don't think a lot of people realize this, but you know what, we're gonna operate at $1 million less than what we did last year. The legislature cut the amount of money that we get by almost $600,000. We're gonna take a reduction in the meal levy, which is about another $400,000. So we're doing our part. We're trying to let our people in the community go, listen, we hear you, we're gonna do this, and I don't know how we're gonna do it, but the reason we can is because did a good job of saving money in the past. We have money in reserve that we can utilize, but you know what, this building needs a new roof. I don't know if you ever walk down the hall sometimes when it rains, but you know what, we got buckets and the water running down the walls, and it's $2.6 million to put a new roof on this roof. So how do we do that, you know? I mean, we're cutting back $1 million, and now we're gonna have to put a roof on at 2.6. And that impacts us, that impacts me, it impacts you as student athletes, because I gotta figure out how to do this in a way that doesn't affect you, doesn't affect what you're doing, it doesn't affect what you've done in the past. You still get to have a new uniform, you still get the new, you know, all the things that we want you to have as student athletes or as students at all. But I gotta figure out how to do that now, and it's one of the hardest things I do. It's the financial side of it. So to answer your question, I go to baseball games, I go to basketball games, I go to little kids games, Mike Jackson and I are training new people to be referees, and so we refereed little kids the other night, you know. Whatever I can do to be seen out in the public, I am, and that means, do I go home at night and get to watch Monday Night Football? No, I was at an 8th grade girls volleyball match, and that's because the principal there is a friend of mine, and she's wanted to talk because they're looking for some of us, our students, to be referee some of their games, kind of thing. So I got to be out in the community. That's what's really about. So you know, when I go to Bill Keller and go, hey, can you give us $350,000? We're going to build a new $9 million facility out here by the sports complex, the soccer fields and the track. It's going to be a relationship with the county, the city, Pratt High, Skyline, us. We're all going to put together this and build this new place out there. We're going to be able to have 6 indoor tennis courts. We're going to have indoor wrestling place. We're going to have indoor basketball courts. It's going to be a state-of-the-art place. It's going to make us, you know, more desirable for when we go out and recruit kids like you to come, because now we got more places for you guys to practice and play. You know, we're talking about adding girls wrestling, you know, and I've got people that are pounding on my door, coaches in Wichita, going, hey, you need to start wrestling, you need to start girls wrestling. I can, but you know what? The dorm's full. You know, I can't put, we got, any of you living in the hotel right now? We got 18, 19 kids living in the hotel right now, because we don't have any more room in the dorms. You know, and those of you who live in Novotny was here when I went to school in 1976 and 77. That building is so old. And we'd like to blow it up, but you can't. You've got 96 beds in it. We can't till we find we have to go out and build another dorm now. So that's the next thing, you know. So I'm getting pressure from people going, hey, we need to start girls wrestling, we need to start girls wrestling. I don't have the room to put 26 or 28 or more girls in there, so, and the only way we do it is we're gonna have to raise a mill levy. And you know what, we don't wanna raise a mill levy, because, you know, we have people in the community going, you guys are a drain on us, so it's a balancing act that we have to do. You have other questions? Yes, ma'am.
What advice would you give someone who wants to become an athletic director?
What, said the first part again, I'm sorry.
What advice would you give someone?
I would say that, you know, as I look back, the things that I wish that I would have done better when I was an undergraduate or when I was sitting in there where you're at would be a better writer. I have a sister who's an English teacher. She's 41 years retired from middle school for teaching middle school English. But when I was in college, I would fax her, because we didn't have email, we didn't have all these things you have now. I would fax her my report, my paper. She would grade it and send it back to me, and that's the only reason I got through probably comp 1 or 2 or whatever. Because so much of what I have to do today is in writing. You know, a lot of the things, I've reached out to somebody here to do some game day stuff for me, because I don't have that capability. I'm an okay writer, but I'm not as good as some people are. And so much of what I used when I was here the first time and what happens now is technology. We didn't have replay. You know what? When I was here the first time, when we played volleyball matches, do we have an opportunity for a coach to challenge it and say, I want to challenge that play, I want to go back and replay? We didn't have that. And as you may or may not know, last 2 Mondays ago, we had a fiasco with replay. And I was at the soccer match, and we were at a lightning delay, so we were sitting there when, you know, and all of a sudden when we're using the Wi-Fi from Green Sports Complex, which is usually enough to get us over to where we're at, but because of the weather that day, it didn't work. So had to come back here to get a MiFi, and the MiFi was not turned on because, you know what, we had a whole bunch of MiFis when COVID hit because everybody was using them, but now we've turned them all off because nobody's using them, and so we didn't have a MiFi that worked, and we didn't have a MiFi that worked here, and so it was a fiasco. And technology today is so much different than it was when I first started. And so to be technologically savvy is another thing, which most of you kids are, but I'm not. You know, I'm 68 years old. I have difficulty turning on my cell phone sometimes. So I have to rely on people to do some of those things for me. So, you know, she does volleyball's game day now for me, and she does a great job. She makes graphics that I don't know how the hell she does it, but she knows how to do it. So, and you know, again, I got to figure out some way to pay her. You know, she doesn't want to be paid, but I want her to be taken care of. So, those are ways that I'm going to either take money out of here and hide it and give it to her, or do illegal stuff that I'm not talking about today. You know, the tennis guys, they come in every day and they restring their tennis rackets. Well, they don't, not every day, but a lot. But you know what? That string cost. That's something we never had. We got a stringer now. We didn't have such things when I was back here the first time. So technology is always changing. When it changes, it also means that it costs more money. So again, I'm trying to figure out how to do more with less all the time. So I would want to be a better writer. I'd want to be more technologically savvy as I was moving up the ranks, those kind of things. But being a writer, I wasn't a very good math student. So, you know, let's go back. I wasn't a very good English student. I'm not a very good math student. But those are two things that I would really do better at. You know, I hated math. My senior year, second semester, my instructor at Wichita State, Kurt, you got to take college algebra. Okay, so I'm 26 or 27 years old, taking college algebra with 18-year-old kids that are just knocking it out. And me, I'm sitting there going, how the hell did she get that? You know, and so that'd be another thing that would win better, because you know, so much of I'm balancing a checkbook, I'm paying bills, I'm trying to figure out, you know, where's the money going to come from? How am I going to pay for this? Those kind of things. So I'd be better, I would spend more time in math and make sure I was a better writer. You know, now they have classes with sports administration. And, I wish my undergraduate degree would have been sport admin, but it wasn't, but my master's was, and so that was, Wichita State is a great school for sport admin. They're one of the top schools in the country. And if that's what you're thinking about, you know, if that's the field you want to go into. But there's no, if you want to be an athletic director at a high school, then you're gonna have to probably get a teaching degree. And then after that, you're gonna have to get a building certificate. So for me, to go to a high school, I had to go to a private school because they don't have the same restrictions that the public schools do as far as. And it's crazy because at the larger schools, the 6A schools here in Kansas, none of the athletic directors teach anything. They don't do anything but be athletic directors. And that's kind of a changing thing, because it used to be in high school, the athletic director was also probably the football coach or the basketball coach. So that's a lot of that's changed, because so much of the job has changed. There's so much of the things that we have to do are no longer connected to the football coach or the basketball coach. They're more financial, more technology, those kind of things. Any other questions? Yes, ma'am?
So how do you handle mental health with athletes?
That's a great question. And you know, again, when I first started back in 2005 here, that really wasn't anything we ever talked about. And for those of you that went to see Coach Potter's a good friend of mine, known him for many, many years, read lots and lots of his games. It was a shock to me when I found out that he was spiraling and that he was having a mental breakdown. We didn't ever used to talk about that. It was like, you know, suck it up, you know. I mean, now it's one of the things that, and today when we were talking to this individual about dismissing him from the team, this is one of the things that we talked about. And we are trying to have more resources as a school now. I don't know if you realize it, but if you need those kind of counseling services, we provide those. Dr. Green is somebody that we have on retainer, and she'll, you know, all we have to do is make a phone call and set it up and have you go. But you know what? We don't realize what people go through. My best friend committed suicide, and I was like, I didn't know he was going to do that. I didn't have a clue that he was thinking about it. Saw him the day before, you know, and of course he didn't share with me that he had the medical diagnosis and those kind of things, but you never know what people are thinking about and the pressure that they're going through and what's bothering them and if they're being bullied or those kind of things. And so much of it has now become because so many people are losing their lives because of it. And so as an athletic director, I'm really cognizant of it. You know, when I see people that are struggling, you know, I'll bring them into my office and have a conversation with them. Sometimes I'm fortunate enough that a roommate will come to me and say, hey, my roommate's struggling here, you know. Last time I heard, the first time that everything came up was one of the girls on the softball team, her boyfriend's on the basketball team was beating her, and nobody knew it, you know, until her roommate told me. So, you know, we had to intervene in that situation and, you know, got her some help, sent him home. You know, when you're here, we expect you to be model citizens, we expect you to do the things that we ask you to do, but we also expect a lot out of you as far as, you know, passing classes and doing well at your individual sport or whatever, you know. I know you're all under a lot of pressure. So it's become something more and more prevalent in my position is because it's something that I have to be really cognizant of. I mean, I have to rely on coaches to come in and tell me that, hey, I have a kid that needs some help and find them that help. And I think that Mark hit it on the head the other day in the sense that we've never talked about it before, but now it's become such a more and more prevalent. I mean, you see the things that are happening in our society today. People are being shot because of their beliefs. People are suffering all kinds of mental issues, and that we're not understanding that. And as a society, we have to do a better job of figuring out what resources we need and make them available. But with here, you know, we try to understand what you're going through. We try to watch for triggers. We kind of watch for, you know, things that are happening, you know, that are going on. And, you know, just the other day, went in and spoke to one of the teams because we had a situation that was going on and basically went in and said, listen, you can't get caught up in drama. And if you got problems, if you need help, come see us. We're always here to help you. And I'm here to tell you today that if you have a problem, come see me. Whether that be your scholarship or that you have a problem with your roommate or you need just somebody to talk to. We have those resources available. We make sure that we talk about it in cabinet quite often. There's a couple of kids, you know, that are here now that we've identified that are, you know, need some help. So as an athletic director, I gotta be diligent on making sure that I see you in the hallways. I know what's going on with you. It's harder now. When I was here the first time, we had 300 kids on athletic scholarship. Now we got over 400. But I used to know a little something about each and every one of them, but you know, that's not the case anymore. So I have to be more diligent about understanding where you're coming from, what are your things that are bothering you, and how can I help you, and make sure that you understand that, hey, there's help. You just gotta come tell us. And don't be ashamed of it. Don't be ashamed. Don't be afraid. You know what? We all have, when you get a cold, you gotta go to the doctor, right? Well, you know what? When you're in this tough spot mentally, you gotta come tell somebody. People want to help you here. That's the thing I love about this school is that when we recruit kids, I go, you can't come here and hide. You know, your teachers know you. We know you. We see you. We know when you're not in class because it's smaller classes, smaller size, but it's also because your instructors here care. I mean, we got great staff. We have great faculty. We have people that really care. And every place I've been, I always think back about this as a great place to be. Is it the most glamorous and exciting things to do on Friday night? No, but it also gave you an opportunity to hone in on what you're here for, and that's to go to school and get better at your sport, you know, or whatever it is that you're doing. So I appreciate you asking that. It's something that's dear to me. That's why I was adamant about bringing Mr. Potter, Coach Potter in, because you know, if it happens to him, it happens to him. We all have time to read, or we have need a little mental checkup or little help. So please reach out for those things that we have available for you. Thank you. What else? Yes, ma'am.
If you could hand off one of your duties and give it to someone else, which one would you choose?
Technology. That's why I hired Eli. Eli's our assistant tennis coach, and I'm wearing him thin until I've hired another kid that is going to come in and help. But you know, on any given day, like today, for example, when we have soccer too, you know what? We got to go there and make sure that the whole camera works so that we can do the live stream. You know, because if we don't have the bandwidth out there is not working, or we don't have the technology, then the live stream doesn't work. And then so your parents who live in England who want to watch you play soccer and you score a goal and we don't have live stream, you know what? They call and go, what the hell? You know? And I'm going, I don't know, you know, because I'm a dummy when it comes to that. So technology is really a big thing that I have had now, and that's why I appreciate what you do for volleyball and what you're doing for us. But you know, replay, that's been a big headache, you know, in the sense that, you know, here's a crucial part of the game, and the coach who challenges it, and they want to look at it, and so the referee goes back and looks at it, and we go to the spot where we think that's where they want to look at, and it sits there and just buffers, and it doesn't. So, and then it's embarrassing for me, because I'm the one who's really responsible for it, so now Hutch goes back and tells their AD, dumbass Kurt McAfee doesn't even have replay. You know, we've had it for 2 years, you have to have it, it's a league rule, but they don't have it. So now the guy can't challenge the replay. So that's the thing that is so frustrating for me, because I want us to be, you know, respected, because we do the things we're supposed to do. We have replay, it works, but when it doesn't work, it looks bad on me. So, you know, Jerry Sanko, he's head of IT here, great guy, known him ever since I've been here, since 2005, great guy, smartest guy I think I know. But in cabinet the other day, I go, God dang it, that is so embarrassing, and we don't have replay, and you're telling me it should work, and I'm telling you it doesn't work. So it's frustrating. So that's the biggest thing is for me is that handing that off. Everything else, you know, the best part of my job is I get to meet you guys, I get to see you guys, I get to see you guys grow, I can think back in 2007 when we won the conference in basketball, hadn't done that for many, many years. And I was the Region 6 director, and you know what, our kid hits a 65-footer, they win it at the buzzer, and I'm jumping up and down over in the corner, and it was what a great time. We went to the national tournament, it was such a great ride. And you know, us kids are still kids that I still talk to every day, or not every day, but you know, quite often. And when they walk into my office and go, hey, Mr. McAfee, I was going through town, I wanted to stop and say hi. Man, what a great feeling it is, because I get to, the best part of my job is to get to know you kids and you, watch you guys play your sport, or watch you grow, or watch you 10 years from now have kids, and you know, and that you're growing up and you're a functioning part of society, and that you know, think, you know, we're doing good. I'm glad it's working. That's the best thing for me. I'm sure Mr. Jackson would say the same thing, because you know, when kids, when you see them grow and become the people that they should be, it's great. But there's also, you know, one of the toughest things for me is we had a kid that came here from Detroit, wasn't a very good student. He was reading at 8th grade level. He was math at the 8th grade level. Never got to him to graduate, but he played here 2 years. And I was telling the story to somebody that day, and I go, I can't remember what his name was, because we always called him Mo Money. But you know what? I'm sitting there, and Jesse Shaw, who's the basketball coach at the time, now who's an assistant in Iowa, he called me and he goes, hey, you know, Mo Money got killed in a gunfight in Detroit. And I'm going, because we tried like hell to get him to stay. I wanted him to stay. He had grown so much. He had done so much better in his life. And I knew if he went back to Detroit, it was going to be bad. And 2 years later, he was killed in a gunfight. So those kind of stories are what they're hard. Because each one of you kids, it means something to us. It's not that we want you to come here 2 years and just use up your eligibility and be done with you. Because you're going to be a beaver the rest of your life. I think that's a great thing. I can always love about the fact that tell why I'm back here now is because this is a great place. I love this place. And if you give it a chance, I think you will too. What else I can do?
We have time, we have time for one more question if you want, or if you want to stop right there, we can. Really up to you.
Yes, sir.
So, what's that one decision that you have made as an athletic director here at PC you are the most proud of?
I tell you what, in almost 20 years of being AD, there's only one coaching hire that I regret. We won the conference in 2009 in volleyball. First time we had ever, you know, we touched. It was always the top hitter. So we had all 6 girls returning, and Coach Hall took a job at Barton. He went to Barton. So their girls came in off, they were devastated. They were crying. You know, we won the conference. We're all freshmen. We're coming back. Coach Hall leaves. What are we gonna do? So I let them sit in on all the interviews that we did. You know, it was me and the 6 sophomores. And so we came down to the last 2 people, and they all wanted this guy, and I wanted this girl. But I let them decide. And 2 months later, I fired him because, you know, the girls would go, okay, we woke up on the bus, and he's just staring at us, and, you know, he creeping them out. He was saying things that was inappropriate. But the last thing that was really the final thing was they're late leaving because one of the girls was sick, and she didn't decide she wasn't going to go, and he was mad. And so they're driving down the road, and one of the girls called me on the phone. She goes, Mr. McAfee, Coach just said he's going to drive this van right into the next semi-truck. And I go, that's not going to be good. Call him, I said, hey, come back. So he comes back, and I suspended him until after we decide what to do with him. And so I went with the girls to Seminole, Oklahoma. I know nothing about volleyball. As a head coach, I'm 0-2 now. But we were down there, and it's funny because Tim River was driving the bus, he goes, we're up like went by a couple points, and all of a sudden they go on a run and score 8 or 9 points, and I go, Tim goes, hey, Kurt, get time, take a time. Oh, yeah, take a time out, you know? So, I'll never let that happen again, because I'm one of those girls to be a part of what was going on, and I felt bad for them, but they made a decision, and I shouldn't have let them make that decision. That's only what I regret. So that's my biggest regret, was allowing the girls to make the decision. Thank you for your time. I'm sorry I ran over.